Interior design is one of the most challenging careers in the design industry. People do not think about it that much, but working with the space, with a three-dimensional space, and planning a space and hoping that it turns out beautiful is not an easy task. Today, I want to share with you how you can design better interiors by mastering one thing. You are probably wondering what this is. And although it's pretty simple, it can also be pretty complex. And forget about the software, forget about the technical knowledge, forget about the books that you have to read. If you want to design better spaces, the one thing that you need to do is learn how to develop a really strong concept. You see, it's very simple, but how do we even do that? Today, I want to share my process along with some tips, tricks, and tools that may help you develop strong concepts for interior design. Let's get right into it. Normally, my design process begins with an idea, which I then develop through research, brainstorming, mood boards, and sketches. For me, it's this initial phase of the interior design process that is the most important one. Without a good starting point, it's easy to get lost in the process. Some of the questions that I like to ask myself are, what is the feeling that I want to convey in this space? Who are the occupants of this space? What is driving my design decisions? Sometimes my inspiration comes from the site, the location and its surroundings, or sometimes it comes from the cultural background of my clients. There are really no rules for developing a concept. What I do sometimes, and I am probably crazy, but I close my eyes and I try to feel the space. I try to imagine myself in this new space, although it doesn't even exist yet, but I try to think about those feelings that I want to feel in this space. Do I want people to feel calm and relaxed? Maybe I want people to feel energized in this space and feel happy and optimistic. Maybe I want people to feel like $1 million bucks. For example, if you are designing a luxury restaurant, there are different feelings that you want people to feel when they walk into these spaces. And it is your job to design spaces that are gonna evoke those feelings and those emotions. This new project that I'm working on has a beautiful location, and this was really the main inspiration and the starting point for me to start developing a concept for this space. We are redesigning the first floor of this building, and I want the exterior, I want the architecture to have this seamless connection with the inside of the building. I normally collect all my inspiration images and also my site images, if applicable, into a design board, into a mood board. And I try to visualize this feeling that I was talking to you about earlier. I always like to select the abstract images first, just to convey that feeling, not to actually choose materials. But then I start also thinking about the materials, and I start to ask myself, okay, what materials are going to convey this feeling? If I'm designing a space that I want it to be very relaxing, very calm, I probably want to use colors that convey this feeling. Developing a design concept can be very hard, and you might need to go through endless iterations until it feels right to you. One piece of advice that was shared with me a while ago was that if I ever got lost in the design process, I should return to the first idea because it's often the right one. Sometimes your ideas will evolve and eventually you will get to that final idea, to that final concept, to that final design board that feels right to you. But sometimes the final one ends up being the very first one. When I was in design school, making design boards and mood boards was one of my favorite parts of the interior design process, and it actually still is. An important thing to consider when you are making mood boards is your principles and elements of design. I do have videos on those topics that you can watch here, but you want to start thinking about those prominent elements and principles that are going to be implemented into this space. Are you working with round elements? Do you want a lot of texture? You want primary colors to be used? All your principles, all your elements of design, you want to have them in front of you, and you want to determine, okay, what you are using. It's like a recipe. You don't have to use it all, but you do have to have some really strong elements that are going to convey and that are going to reflect your design concept. To do my boards, I use Pinterest and Morpholio board, and this is what my process looks like. So first of all, I always create Pinterest boards for each project that I'm working on. Before, we used to have physical boards, but since we are trying to save the planet and not waste a ton of paper, designers are moving more into digital boards, and eventually you can print out your final boards. There are a few apps where you can do this, but I find Morpholio board the best one because it's an app created for interior designers. So it has some pretty awesome tools. When you are choosing the images for your board, you want to think about the layout and the composition as well. Presentation matters a ton. So for example, if I am including an image of a piece of furniture into my board, you know how sometimes it comes with this background, which is typically white or gray or whatever the color that is. But if you want to overlay that onto another inspiration image, you might want to remove that background. And for that, I use the background remover in board. I always think about aesthetics. We are interior designers, so we do have to consider all these little details. Choose your text wisely. Again, when you are creating design boards, everything matters within the composition. So I would recommend you to limit your text. Do not use more than 3 fonts. I would personally just use 1 or 2 at the maximum. And I would be very careful to use text that it's not very thick or that it's not gonna take too much attention from your board. Here in Morpholio board, there are many different options of text you can use and also different colors. So what type of text do you wanna have in your design board? It shouldn't be too much. Sometimes you want to include your title of the project, client name, or the type of board that you are creating, whether you're doing a furniture board or a mood board. So just a little text to give some indication of what that board is about. And I sometimes also like to number my boards. This is something that I need to work on myself. Whenever I choose something for my project that I really like, I close my eyes to other alternative options that might work as well. There are a million options in terms of materials, furniture, everything we choose. There's so many options for you to choose out there. Even if you like something very much, keep it as an option. Do not keep it as the only option. Here in Morpholio board, there is this library that has so many products and accessories and items that you can choose for your project, and I am completely obsessed with it. You guys probably already know this, but I am obsessed with designer chairs, and I can find them all here in the Morpholio library. So guys, that was a bit of an insight into what my interior design process looks like. I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.